We might be losing the race wars, but haters are eating good this week. Welcome to Hate Week 2 EU RMR B, where Astralis have lost to 9 Pandas and are now eliminated from the LCQ. Astralis, the worst super team in history, head on over to boxermovement.club for some official Hate Week 2 merchandise. All right? And even though Astralis, the GOAT Danish team, the GOAT of all time, will not be at the very first Danish major in CS history, but Ason will be, the best Danish headphone company ever. Launders 10 for 10% off. Link in the description below. Okay, remember guys, we are not just regular haters, right? We're fervent haters. We're adamant haters. We are very serious about hating. But we are not haters in the sense that we lost something and so we're turning to hate, right? That's the weakest form. We're not somebody who initially believed Astralis were going to make it through, and then we bet a unit size that was too big, and now we have not enough money, and we're hating because we're poor. No, hating because we're poor is hating from a position of weakness, okay? And we're not hating from a position of weakness, okay? We're hating for the fun of it. It's different. And I want everybody to thank each other for their time this week, because it's been a long week. It's been a week of high yield when it comes to hate. And we've been very successful in terms of seeing a lot of fraudulence and overall dupery at the EU RMR B. The worst of which, of course, just took place with 9 Pandas beating Astralis, which is just sort of a level of tragedy that I didn't expect to witness at 7:33 this morning when I was just cracking an eye open to see what was popping on the LCQ. Yeah, this is terrible. This is terrible. So what can we say about this? Well, first of all, why don't we talk about, what this means, first of all? Because jokes aside, this one hurt. I was on behalf of haters and Hate Week and everything and cheering for Astralis to lose because it'd be one more fraudulent team. But as a joke, for real, as an enthusiast of the game, as somebody who's been watching the sport for 10 years, a sport that's been around forever, and obviously being such a big fan of Glaive myself, as the only player to make it through, this one kind of hurt, man. Not having Device, not having Dupree on Preezy, not having Device come through for the first Danish major in history. Screw the org, screw everything else. I mean, that kind of sucks. You know what I mean? That kind of sucks. So this one hurt, right? As a racist, this one hurt. Wanted to have a full Danish lineup here that have a chance to make it to top 8. Of course, we have Ecstatic who made it through, which is an amazing story. Top 8 is obviously a very unlikely story. It's already amazing they made the challengers. We'll have to watch their run because they are the full Danish lineup. Okay, so we're cheering for Zippel's boys. At least there's that. But right now, we're looking at 2018 Astralis. Glaive is the only one of this entire team. Zonic and Magisk, of course, on Falcons. Zipix is reading a book somewhere. Dupree has tried and put himself out there, man. And shout out to Dupree for putting it on the line because he could have just skipped out and not played on a team because he couldn't find a tier 1 opportunity and instead tried with Preezy to put together a lineup that would be effective and put his reputation on the line and everything, and definitely played well and did well and played to win. But the team wasn't good enough, and they don't make it through. And that'll be the first time out of, I think, 20 majors now, essentially counting all 19 CSGO majors and 1 CS2 majors. Hope I have those numbers right, where Dupree will not be attending. So in some sense, of course, he had to try. In another, though, he had every excuse in the world to skip out, and I really want to commend him. It's very venerable of him to make an effort there, and it is sad to not see him there, and it is sad to not see Device there, but why don't we start hating, okay? Because this is a lot of love posting that I'm doing, and I just want to, let's start with Device, because Device missed shots, all right? So not only was this team a failure, and the worst super team in history, but Device was not one of the players that I expected to not do well in this lineup, okay? And when we watched him play at the RMR, he tweeted about it, he wasn't having fun. And yeah, he was missing a fair few shots. So whatever thing that people have figured out about CS2, whether it's like, Brokey's level of op, James' level of op, Zywoo just avoiding the op entirely, or, Shiro figuring out how to op as a really dedicated opper that skipped those sort of bad updates where the op wasn't good. Device has not figured it out. Apparently, he didn't catch that sort of groove where everybody else who's at that elite level has sort of figured out how to op in CS2. Device is just not having fun with it, and they couldn't win without him. He wasn't leading. He wasn't carrying the hell out of them like they were last year. I was rating Device and Blame F so highly because of 23 and in 24 here to start the year. Not a good look from them, especially with the help and assistance of Stabby, who've come in as really big signings and have made this team a super team. 4 top 20 players coming in from last year, and everyone said, yeah, it's 4 top 20 players. They're all washed now. I personally believe, and you tell me, okay, listen, I'm always honest, but I'm going to be unfiltered, I guess, in saying that if this team had a better IGL, I think they'd figure it out. Yeah, the roles are messed up, but in my opinion, with the quality of players that you have, and Stare, who I'm going to talk about later, who's been overperforming, if you had the right IGL, they would have been able to figure this out. I would even say that someone like Hooksy, despite him having would tank the stats sort of, and definitely not win every round in the same way the individuals on this team would have done a better job with this lineup than Blame F has done. And I think that there's a big task for him to have figured out one of the hardest role clashes when it comes to Stown and Jabby coming onto the team, and then Stare having to take all the support roles, and you sort of just messed everything up, really. It just messes everything up. And you have, I think what happened was that when, I don't know, it felt selfish to me. I won't lie. When I looked at, and Blame F is somebody who I rated so highly in 23. You saw him on my top 20 list. Everyone said I put him too high. This is the first year I put him too high. And then the following year, at the beginning of the year, I'm back to where I felt last year, where I feel like it's sort of degenerated. When the team stopped working well, in my opinion, in this RMR and recently, I think they all went back to fight or flight, and literally Blame went back to lurking too slowly on important rounds, overplaying lurks in the wrong rounds, and Stown and Jabby went back to playing heroic style, playing together. They were selling some anti-ecos, man. These guys were like walking around as if they were all doing it, right? And I think the heroic system worked because they were all doing it, but it felt like they weren't 5 fingers on one hand, right? They were 2 severed fingers stitched together on another hand, the Astralis hand. You know what I'm saying? And somehow, inside of all of this unbelievable turmoil with the team, it's Stown who gets his roles. It's Jabby who's still playing similarly. It's Device who's still opping. It's Blame F who's still calling. And it's Stare who is the person that we look to save this roster. It's Stare. Stare is the one who's overperforming. Stare is the one we feel bad for. Stare is the one doing the fucking exit interview. Like, I'm sorry, but with the amount of leadership, the amount of seniority everyone on this team has, or stature when it comes to the 2 new players, to have Stare do the exit interview for the team that doesn't qualify to the first ever Danish major, and you don't have Blame F or you don't have Device doing this interview, is fucked up. It's fucked up and it's wrong. And credit to Stare, he did a great job. I'm sure he was there like, yeah, I know this is what I have to do, but it's not the person you want to hear from in the interview. It's not the person who's feeling literally generational pain from missing, first of all, Astralis missing 3 majors in a row, Device missing 3 majors in a row, the roster trying to prove themselves and putting together a fucking super team to be able to do it, and Stare being sort of the 5th rung on that ladder in terms of who we're looking for to carry them. And he's the one doing the exit interview. He doesn't have that. He's not bearing the same pain. He's new into his career. He's playing with 4 insanely top 20 players, right? He's happy to be there. That's not the guy you want doing the fucking interview. That was just ridiculous, man. And that's not the first time the Straws have put, just like, I don't know, have got like somebody do the interview. Just like, why? Like, why? It's the same thing as, honestly, when Simple skipped out on the exit interview at Paris. That was cowardly to me. I hated that. I think he absolutely should have been the one to do that, and I hated that. So I would just like to put that out there, not trying to say that this is the only team in the world that's ever done something like this when it comes to interviews, but it's like, come on, man. This is a sport. Your fans are everything. Let's do the fucking interview. You know what I mean? That pissed me off, actually. And that was something it caught me off guard. I think caught a lot of people off guard because the game was over. We were already sort of feeling mixed emotions, right? We were sad, confused, angry, believing in this new team. And I was somebody who was hyped. I thought that despite these role clashes, that they were going to figure it out because it's such quality players. I believed in the communication of these players. As Stown, as I know, is someone who's supported as an IGL, who's been and he's played with Katie, and who I believe is an excellent IGL, where I believe Blame isn't. Then there's also Device, who I've seen him call entire rounds in the middle of games. Like, I know he's really good at supporting. If these guys get on the server, I believe that you could figure this out. I believe that there's an IGL that could have saved this team. So I'm going to put it that way. I'm not going to put it all on Blame, because when I see Stown and Jabby doing heroic things, I'm like, is that what they did in practice? When they went off on their own to try to do their own thing? When Device missed shots, can I put that on Blame? No. They all had to pick their asses up, and they couldn't. And yeah, they deserve a lot of criticism because they let a lot of people down, and that's the nature of the game. And of course, it hurts nobody more than them, I'm sure. And for Falcons to see Magisk and Dupree not make it, of course, that's pure pain. I mean, literally the first Danish major in history, the only one to make it through is fucking Glaive with 4 Polish players. That's shame. That's pure shame, man. And for Glaive, I'm so happy for him. And I've watched him cry in the interview multiple times now, because it honestly brings a freaking tear to my eye. I swear to God. It's just, it's amazing what he was able to do under the duress of having to put together a team. Literally, I saw Glaive in Dubai, and we were at a racetrack, okay? And while this happened, the news went down that his teammates were leaving for Falcons. That the Ends Corps were leaving him. And him and Cuban were there at the racetrack. And I was like, hey, do you guys want to race in 2 hours? And he says, well, actually, we've only got 12 hours for the roster lock, so we need to find a new team. 12 hours. And not only did they find a new team, but they qualified to the major.
With me here, and a very emotional, very happy, and I guess very proud leader right now. What does it mean to you to come back with this team where you weren't sure what you're going to get, make the major, and do it in style?
It means quite a lot. It means a lot to me, and also to the team, and for everyone. So, wait.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. You guys know how I feel about Glaive. Now, there's been some funny stuff to come out of this, right? You got to be a sick person if you enjoy seeing Astralis suffer. Me. And a lot of people hated on them. And when you have a team like Astralis, right? When you take a risk of having a stabby situation and you know the PR is going to be a nightmare, you're already running on 0 fans. You keep hiring ESIC band coaches. You have literally nothing left except the ability to win with the 4 top 20 players you've got. And then you don't win. Yeah, you probably deserve some hate to come your way. Not everybody, not everything, not all the type of hate that they're going to get. But in terms of criticism, of course, man. You have to win if you're going to take some kind of risk like that. I mean, the situations that they've gone through, they've literally done it all to become a performance team that wins. And I respect that, actually. I am not mad at Stown and Jabby for going to Astralis. But I just know that this is it's a decision that was understood by Astralis, what the blowback was going to be, what they were risking, right? So the only payoff is if you win, everyone forgets. Don't forget about that. If you win, no one gives a shit. You could literally kill somebody. If you win, you'll get away with it. Okay, so if you want to be I get the bet. I get the bet. If I'm Astralis, they're betting on making a good team, and I also respect that, because I wouldn't want just a popular team. I would want the best team possible, and they put together what could be an exciting roster. They just didn't accomplish anything. So, yeah, this is not a joke. Okay, so Vitality, Apex, you're replying to Shocks about saying a super team is not something that works easily. Chemistry is the key learned in 2017. And he said, and having a good IGL. Of course, Shocks is calling for the team. That was an experiment. And there's been all kinds of examples of star players trying to call and in the past. And Apex is one of the people who was most doubted. And I doubted Apex so much because there was never an example in history of an entry fragger, somebody who couldn't sit down still in their seat. That was an entry fragger who was also a star player in 2018, by the way. By the way, Apex, I believe, was a top 10 player in 2018. Oh, sorry. Let me make sure I've got that right. He had actually mad stats back then as an entry player. Really, really impressive. And if I just want to roll that back here. Sorry. All right, so that's 2015. Where am I looking for exactly? We're going to figure this out. Where was the year? Look at these stats. Wow, a 1.16 as an entry fragger with a 1.23 impact rating. Insane, right? Insane for a player like this to eventually call. Of course, you're going to doubt them. Like, imagine thinking about Blame F in this picture right now. Like, you're not going to think that that makes perfect sense. So I was willing to give Blame F the benefit of the doubt that he's already called before on complexity. He's got some time to do it. But man, I don't know, man. I really think that they actually did play pretty selfishly when things were going wrong, and that actually made things worse. I really think that. I really think that. That's my truest hate thought, and I don't know. I can't verify because I wasn't there on the server. I wasn't feeling what they were feeling. I don't know what the communication was like, but that's what it looked like to me. If you think it looked like that or you think it looked different, you let me know. All right? As a fan of the legacy of the game, I am sad to not see the Vice be a part of the first Copenhagen Major. I'm sad to not see Astralis there because as much hate as they've gotten, of course, they are a massive reason why esports have blown up inside of Denmark, and it's been so massive. I mean, I remember going to fields of the mall there and seeing like cardboard cutouts of the original Astralis lineup in there as they were running events, and every like kid and parent had like Astralis merchandise. It was at the point where the newspaper was reporting on Astralis so much that you could find people that knew about Astralis before esports. And I have some respect for that. Now, of course, that's largely because of the players. They're the ones who won 4 majors under Glaive. I think that's so the players obviously have a massive part in that deal, but there is some brand recognition there. There's that, you would expect to see at the Copenhagen Major. It's going to be a huge disappointment for them. But I feel bad for the players first and foremost, and that's it. I won't lie. So it's the most bitter way that you could possibly go out here in EU RMR Week 2, losing 2-0 to ENCE with Glaive, your former IGL, with 0 top 20 players, beating you, the super team that cut Glaive with 4 top 20 players, not taking a map, and losing back-to-back series versus the same lineup. So having fresh, insanely fresh game tape from the Katowice play-in to figure out how to play against them. And instead, I said, is this a conflict of interest that Glaive is the IGL event but still owns Astralis? Still owns Astralis on an individual level in that match. If you guys remember, on Ancient, an absolute masterclass individually from Glaive. This can't come out of nowhere. 2.25, 24 and 5. Insane to crush his former lineup. I mean, of course, this is special to him. Glaive is an incredibly humble person. When you speak to him, I've never heard him give himself credit. I've always heard him talking about learning from his new teammates. He's literally asked me questions about the game. And when I hear him ask me questions about the game, I'm like, come on, you're just humoring me. But he genuinely listens to everyone because he's always trying to learn, and he is a champion. He wants to win, and he's proved that. So as nice as he seems, he has that dog in him. He wants to be victorious all the time, no matter what. And yeah, I'm happy for him. Sad for Astralis, but at the same time, they don't deserve it because they played like shit. So yeah, as a racist, it was a little upsetting to not have the Danish team make it to the Copenhagen Major. It's bullshit to have Stair do the exit interview. I literally tweeted Astralis are winning Copenhagen last month. I was so excited as they were getting so much better, but it didn't work out in the end. So that's that, baby. I might do a video next on super teams in history if you guys would like that to hear about that. Let me know in the comments. But that is Hate Week 2 RMR B/LCQ wrapped. This was the team that we were waiting to see if they were going to make it or not. They didn't. They're frauds. I'm out.